hate doing these because I feel like a radio presenter or like a game show host or something. It's like, come on down, Hannah.
Today we have with us.
If you see you're better at this stuff, you should be hosting, not me.
I'm good.
Okay. So, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
If you would like to give us a brief introduction of who you are and what you do.
So my name is Hannah Reilly, and I'm the co-director of Every Unique Productions, which is an educational theatre company for teenagers aged 12 to 18.
And how did that come about?
Oh my goodness, in such a random way. So I've been a facilitator now for 6 years. So I did drama at Queen's, and I kind of thought I wanted to be a teacher, but I thought I didn't like the rigidness of the school sort of curriculum. I wanted to just focus more on letting young people be creative. So then I fell into the world of facilitation, which I just fell in love with because it was still teaching, but there was no real pressure on me or on the kids. So it meant that we were able to be free and everything is, child-led. So I started facilitating mainly in Belfast, where I lived, and I loved it, but I always had a bit of a hunger and a desire for a wee bit more. So I suppose I always threw myself into every sort of job I got, but I loved the organisation and I loved the planning and sort of taking sort of ownership of it. So I suppose it was inevitable that I would end up opening my own business. But basically, loads of different things led to me moving back to my hometown of Ballymena. And when I came back, I started working for a company called Be Unique Drama School. And what I found when I moved back to Ballymena was the opportunities for teenagers were very few and far between, especially in the creative arts sector. So as I was working in Be Unique Drama School, which is for primary school age children, I got to know the director of it, Martina, more and more. And we just kind of got really friendly, and we kind of realized we both had this same passion for wanting to work with young people, teenagers, and open our own theatre company. And then we did. We opened the theatre company in August 2020
So
in
you
the middle of the pandemic.
just as literally what to say. So you opened it at like probably one of the strangest and probably hardest times, I would imagine, to start a business, and not just a business, but a business in the arts sector, which is never easy.
Yeah, I suppose the pandemic was also a contributing factor because, like I said, I moved back to Ballymena in January 2020, and I didn't really know what was going to happen with my career. I kind of had just decided I was going to commute to Belfast every day.
Yeah.
And then COVID struck and I wasn't really working at all. I was doing bits and pieces on Zoom, and I was doing, bits and pieces of pre-recording on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it just gave me a lot of time to think. And it also gave me and Martina a lot of time to get to know each other a lot better. And I think COVID and being back in Ballymena and all the events that led to that made me realize how short life was. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Why am I not doing it? Let's give it a crack. Let's do it. Yeah. And we said we were going to open, and we opened firstly online. And then we were like, okay, then we'll open real classes and be in person. But actually we've been completely online to present day. And like it's went really well and it's going brilliant. And
it's such a strange thing because obviously if the pandemic wasn't happening and you guys were opening, you would have opened just as normal with obviously hiring somewhere out or whatever. Has it almost been, do you think, I know this sounds terrible and I've talked about this in some podcasts before, but it's almost worked in some people's favor, I think.
I think it worked in our favor because with the other companies that I have experienced and with, Martina's other company, Be Unique, the kids had been used to a certain type where it was in the room doing certain things, and now they were being thrown onto Zoom and they were like, oh my goodness, what is this? This isn't what our class is normally like. Whereas no one had any expectations of us because we'd never been in the room. Yeah. And also we focus not just on theatre, we also focus on film. So we decided, right, well, online is going to work really well for film. So we just played to our strengths and offered screen acting courses. We're doing a Zoom play at the minute. And actually all the young people's feedback has been like, this has been so interesting and exciting. It's not like anything we've ever done before. It's so
Yeah.
film based and it's so exciting. So they've really loved it and it's worked in our favor.
Yeah, I think it is. It's having that sort of like the technology to be able to do that, because it's, again, it's not something, the old film side of it, because I think I seen online you got all the, like, you got students to like create their own films, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. So part of our screen acting course was making their own movie trailers.
Mm.
So we have, looked at how to film, how to edit, how to light, how to do sound, all with the equipment they've got at home, which is mainly only phones,
Yeah, tablets, all that sort of stuff.
maybe some lamps, a ring light or two.
Yeah.
And they've been able to make their own self-tapes or make their own short films or trailers using what they've got at home, and it's worked so well for us that we're now we're going to be in person for the first time in the summer, and we're doing 2 summer schemes, one in Ballymena in July and one in August in Coleraine, and they're going to be completely filmmaking courses. So they're going to do theatre and acting skills, but then devise their own short films, learn how to film them, edit them, produce them, direct, star in them, the whole lot. And then on the Saturday we're going to have a mini film festival for the parents to stream in and watch, because we can't bring the parents in to watch anything. So we
Yeah.
thought, how can we show back? We'll stream it out and the young people will watch it in the room and the parents can watch in from home. And like the feedback we've got so far from the young people who are signed up, they're like, we're learning how to make our own films. Like we're
That's
using
exciting.
we've invested quite a bit of money into buying good equipment. So,
Yeah.
we have lights, we have microphones, we have GoPros, we've got, laptops, everything. So the young people are just absolutely buzzing to like use the equipment, be taught how to use it properly, and then make something that's a bit different than anything they've made before. So yeah, we've just kind of, they say to adapt, any business should adapt. And I think actually the adapting we've had to do has taken us in a different direction than we expected, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that's it. It's a completely, as you said, it's completely different. If you were to create your sort of business model, even, well, say a year and a half ago before all this, it would look totally different, I imagine. It's probably, I know you've obviously invested a lot of money into it, but at the same time, it's probably saved a good bit as well. So you'll be able to then reinvest, because you're not having to maybe pay for like ridiculous rent or rates or whatever.
Yeah, like we did our business plan when we opened in August before we launched any classes. We've been so lucky in a way because COVID gave us time. We worked with Ballymena Business Centre. I worked with Women in Business. And we've worked with different business mentors, and we're doing a digital program at the minute with Cirque. So we've had loads of time to do that sort of stuff, which has been great. So it meant we've been able to sort of do a really good detailed business plan. And we like had, funded out, thousands of pounds for rent and, liability insurance and like all those sorts of things that you need when you're in an actual venue.
Yeah.
And like you said, we've been able to use that money to buy equipment a lot quicker than we had anticipated. We were looking at buying equipment, the start of next year, but actually we have it all now and we're able to do the stuff now because we've saved all that money. So yeah, like COVID, it brought its challenges, but for us, it's also brought benefits in weird roundabout ways.
What would you say has been the hardest part then, just from literally from the concept of the business to now? Like, what's been the challenges?
I suppose like our business mentor always says, what do you need help with? I think reaching more people is just the hard part, getting your face out there and getting known.
Yeah.
Like, the world's a funny place now. You don't put an ad in a newspaper or put a poster up in a cafe anymore. Everything is about social media. And social media puts so many things in place to stop you from getting seen, without paying for it. So yeah, I suppose for us, we have so many good ideas, and the young people that have come through the door have just like they've loved every minute. We have 3 or 4 students that they've been with us since day one, and they have done every single thing we've offered. And the parents have said to us, anything you're doing, just count them in.
Sign
Like
us up.
they love it. But it's just about finding the people to come. It's about getting your name out there and getting people being like, ever unique. Oh yeah, that's them guys. Yeah, like let's send my teenager.
It's starting a brand, isn't it? Pretty much that's what you've
Yeah.
done. It's just then.
I think as well, like I've found over the years facilitating, you are looking after someone's most prized possession. Like, you work in a computer shop, people are a bit hesitant. You work in a really high-end car, repair place, people are a bit hesitant about giving you, their Jaguar XF that costs thousands and thousands of pounds. It's even more so someone is handing you over the most important and precious thing in their life to look after. So it's us, I suppose, showing that we know what we're talking about. We offer a safe space.
Yeah.
And your child is both going to learn and have a good time. So yeah, I think it's about, like you said, building the brand enough. The parents are like, I have no problem. My son or daughter going there for however many hours because I know they're safe and they're well looked after.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's something that I wish I've only really, I would say I only started to really gain the confidence to even go on camera or do any sort of acting in my early 20s. Like whenever I was young, I would have been terrified at the thought of that. But looking back now, I feel like drama and the sort of creative arts and things, I'm not saying it should be pushed on kids, but I think it should definitely be encouraged from a very young age. Because it's like what would you say are some of the benefits that the kids get from going to these classes?
Oh my goodness, like confidence, number one. We have students who have said to us that their confidence has just soared through the roof after being with us. We have one student called Ben, and I had taught him personally before I opened Every Unique. And then when we opened Every Unique, he's like, yeah, definitely want to do that. And he was so shy, wouldn't have said boo to him out.
Yeah.
And he came to us, did our screen acting course, just grew and grew in confidence to the point now where he's going to study performing arts and circus skills at a school in September in Brighton. And he said, Hannah, I wouldn't have had the confidence to even have auditioned for that before. And now he's auditioned and secured a place.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So he has said, the skills he's learned through acting and coming to us has now put him on the next step for the rest of his life. That's going to be what he wants to pursue as a career as he becomes an adult.
That's amazing.
Confidence is definitely, but also like communication skills, how to present yourself, how to be articulate. Improvisation is something you need every day in life, whether that be in an interview, presenting in a business meeting, talking to a customer, dealing with a complaint in your job, whether that be in retail, food, any sort of line of work. Improvisation is really important, and that's something we try and drill into our students, how to keep talking and how to keep command of a situation, even if you're not 100% sure that situation is coming at you. So, I agree with you. Like, I think all young people should do acting, and I think we offer a place where we're not shoving them on a stage where they're like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this. We're giving them fun workshops where they're building the skills without realizing it. And I think as well, we have a lot of young people who come to us that maybe aren't actors, but they love editing and they love equipment. So they're drawn in by that side of things. And then they learn the communication, they learn the confidence skills, but they're still getting to do what they love and play around with cameras and lights and microphones,
That's amazing. What was your early experience then? How did you, because I know you've obviously done a bit of acting yourself, but even before university, growing up, what was your experience?
I suppose I've just always been someone who's creative. I love drawing, I love fashion, I loved dancing. My favorite thing as a kid was making up music videos to songs. Like we would have traveled a lot when I was younger, in the car, and I would have been listening to a song on my headphones, and I'd have been planning out in my head music video. So that was always, when I was a kid, I was always very creative. And then I went to Slemish College in Ballymena, and the reason I chose that school was on open night they did a scene from Grease as their drama department performance, and I was just mesmerized, and I said, I want to go here. Yeah, just was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. The costume, the lights, the singing, the dance and everything. And I was very lucky. Slemish College is a school that it celebrates everybody and their individual talents. So from day dot, when I said I liked drama, they supported me. So the whole way through school, I was in the drama department, lived in there, like GCSE, A level. I'm still like really close friends with my drama teacher. So it was kind of inevitable for me. That's what I was going to do when I went to uni. And my mum and dad were always so supportive. They never deterred me away from it. They were like, is that what you want to do? Yeah, well then do it. They were very supportive. And then I went to uni, and then the rest is sort of history.
No, that's great. In terms of the last year, so obviously the podcast is sort of one part a bit of fun, chatting about you, and then one part we're kind of chatting about mental health. So in the last year, obviously it's been, while obviously your business is going fantastically well, what would you say has kept you sane for the last year whenever maybe things have been a bit more difficult?
Yeah, I suppose partly the business and being able to put my creative energy into the business, it's kept me sane. But I suppose as well, my friends, they have been a really big support network. I have quite a unique story, I guess. I'm 26 years of age, and I've lost both my parents between 2018 and January 2020, and both my parents passed away. So I was 23 when I lost my mum, and then I was 25 when I lost my dad. So yeah, that was obviously a really, really difficult situation.
Yeah.
And to add sort of an extra layer to that, my younger brother was only 16 when my dad passed away. So I took on the role of guardian to him after daddy died. So I wasn't just dealing with the fact that my parents had died. I was also dealing with the fact that I had to leave my life in Belfast, which I really liked. I loved Belfast. I loved the work I was doing. Moved back to Ballymena, somewhere that I wouldn't have given you much time for before, and now sort of become a maternal figure to a teenager. So a lot was going on, and then COVID hit 2 months later. So
had a roller coaster.
Yeah. So we were dealing with the fact that we were grieving. We were also just starting to get into a routine, me and him, of, me going to work, him going to school, dinners, shopping, cleaning, just the daily life of sort of a family home, I suppose. And then COVID came along and decided to just throw everything, up the left.
Yeah.
And I suppose when COVID came and all the things that you took for granted before you couldn't do anymore, it made me realize how much I was so lucky to have all those things.
Yeah.
Seeing my friends, going on holiday, going to the gym, going out for dinner, going on a day trip to the North Coast. It made me realize how lucky I was to have all those things in my life, and made me be so thankful. So yeah, COVID was really difficult. But I think for me, it was a real eye-opener, because I saw firsthand, with mum and dad dying, the fragility of life. And now suddenly everything we take for granted was taken away for us. That I sort of said to myself, whenever this is all over and we can do the things again, I am not taking one thing for granted. I'm going to live my life to the fullest, which then in turn is what led to me opening Every Unique, because I was like, I just need to live my life, and I'm going to do this now. I'm not going to be scared. I'm not going to be worried. All the things that maybe would have deterred me before, I was like, nope, no, it's now or never sort of thing, because you only get one life.
Yeah, and that is, I think that's a really amazing way to look at it, because going to the sort of the other end of the spectrum, I can imagine just how, I obviously can't imagine what you went through, but at the same time, I can imagine that you could have easily went the other way and just went totally inside yourself and removed yourself from all that, whereas you've thankfully went to the side of, I will just throw myself into this and enjoy every day as much as I can.
Yeah, I guess when my mum died, because my mum was my best friend, if you'd have asked me before that day, what's the worst thing that could ever happen to you? My mum dying was it. And I think after she died, I kind of went into shutdown mode, and I went back to work 2 weeks after she died, and everyone was like, what are you doing? You're crazy. But I just was like, nope, I'm working. I'm not thinking about this. And I went out partying a lot. The weekends were just a bit of a blur, because I just, I finished work at 4 o'clock, and then went straight to the bar, and that was that. And I think, yeah, I knew that I couldn't do that again. Like I went to counselling for about a year and a half after mum died, and I couldn't thank the counsellor enough for the help that she gave me, and the way she almost set me up for when it did come around to dad dying.
Yeah.
I'm in a far better place to deal with it. And I was like, I'm not going into shutdown mode. I'm going to deal with this and grieve and feel the feelings.
What sort of, that's what I was going to say, like what sort of things would you say you've learned? So whenever you maybe are feeling like, obviously you're allowed, of course you're allowed to be upset, you're allowed to be down, like you're always going to have those days. But so would you say you've learned maybe some things to just kind of sort of be in more tune with how you're feeling?
Yeah, I guess the first thing is every feeling is valid.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, it's okay to have days where you feel sad and you feel down, because we all do. And that's part of being human. You know, it's part of, you're not going to be happy 24/7. I guess understanding that it's okay to lean on other people. You know, I'm a very strong person that I'm like, don't need anybody. I'm fine. I've never dealt well with my emotions. I do not deal well with crying in front of people. You know, a lot of my friends would say they've maybe only seen me cry once or twice, because I just can't, I don't like feeling weak, maybe is the best way to describe it. But I've learned that your friends and your family and your loved ones, they mean it when they say, if you need me, I'm here. They wouldn't say it if they didn't mean it.
Yeah, it's okay to be vulnerable sometimes.
Yeah, and if you do need someone to talk to, or you're feeling a bit down, to not feel like you're a burden, because you're not. Like, you know, I look at it the other way. When my friends come to me upset, I'm never going, flip me, would they ever leave me alone? Like, oh, would they ever stop crying? I
Cheer
never
up.
those thoughts. Yeah, so the other way around. So yeah, I think knowing that your feelings that you're having are okay, and knowing that there's somewhere to go if you are having those feelings. And I would always recommend, if you think you need counselling, or you feel that counselling would be beneficial for you, do not feel weak or feel ashamed of taking that help, because it's one of the best things I've ever done.
Yeah, like I've never been. It's something I've always sort of thought about. I think, to be honest, I think everyone to a certain extent would probably benefit from counselling, because we, as much as we think we know ourselves and we think we're in control, like there's always going to be things that'll maybe that you don't even recognize or that are detrimental. So I think counselling is definitely something that needs to be, again, not pushed on people, but it needs to be talked about more. I think that it's not, because I, like years ago, I would have seen it as maybe, you're like a sign of weakness, like you're going to counselling, you must be like, there must be something seriously wrong. But
like when I first got sent, I was like, I'm a nutcase. Oh my goodness. Like, oh, people are like, and I almost found myself lying if I had an appointment. Well, I've got an appointment in Antrim, you know, like, oh, just an appointment. And no one ever asks when you say that. So, but now I just say, like, I'm a survivor.
Oh yeah.
That is way cooler than being someone who's scared and too afraid to deal with their problems.
100%.
And there's, like you said, there's never would I say to push counselling anyone, but there's so many different options. Like the counselling I went to was psychological therapies. So, you know, it was looking at practical tips, which suited me and my brain, but there's other counselling services that are just listening. And actually at the minute I go to life coaching. I stopped counselling at the start of 2020 and I go to a life coach, Claire Connor. And I find it really helpful because it's about goal setting and what do you want from your life? Okay, well, how are you going to get it? And it's actually, it's more positive, you know, not talking about all the sad times and crying or anything. She's okay, what are you struggling with? Okay, where do you want to be? Okay, how are we going to get there? You know, it's very proactive, which I like. So I think there's something out there for everybody. You just have to find what works for you.
I was going to say, that sounds exactly up your street.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what I need to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
No, that's great. No, that's really good. And it's really interesting because it's things like this here. This is one of the reasons why I started the podcast, to talk about things like this and to talk to people like yourself who have the experience of it. Like I'm someone who's very much kind of looking from the outside. Obviously, I get bad days and mental health is up and down, and it's something I'm trying to kind of talk about a bit more, especially through the podcast. But I think talking to people like yourself is definitely a good way of reaching people and getting more people to talk about it, which is something that while there's loads of campaigns out there, it still doesn't happen enough, especially in this country.
Which is, I suppose, part of the reason why we chose to make Every Unique an educational theatre company. So,
Yeah.
we're looking at big issues in young people's lives: bullying, mental health, family, suicide, bereavement, all these things. And, if someone was ever to ask me, well, what gives you the right to talk to young people about those things? I'm very honest and I say, well, I've been through some really awful times, and I wish when I was a teenager I had been talked to more about mental health and about, how you struggle, and about bullying, and about, relationships and all those things. So that's the same as yourself. I was so keen to have that sort of like thread to Every Unique, where there's a place for young people to explore these themes through acting.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for talking about that.
No problem.
It's genuinely really interesting. And as much as I know we know each other, it's not often you have these conversations, which I think are important to happen as well for friends.
Yeah, 100%.
If we'll move on to what I like to call the fun part of the podcast.
Okay.
That's entirely up for debate. But I asked you to prepare 3 things that drive you insane. Maybe not insane, or just 3 things that maybe annoy you a little bit, or maybe a lot.
Yeah.
What's your first one?
Yeah, as I texted you earlier, I was struggling with this, and I asked a load of my students earlier to give me some of their ideas, and they said, can I give them a shout out in the podcast? So here's a little shout out to St. Michael's Primary School, all Hannah's students there. Yeah, they had some very interesting ones, but it got me thinking. So my first one, this is so ridiculous, and you're going to be like, Hannah, like, wise up. So I travel quite a lot. My most recent was I went to Australia over Christmas 2019 for a month and a half. And it drives me insane. So I obviously can't afford any more than, just the usual standard seats. When people recline their seats, like, they are small enough, those little areas, like, your knees are touching the seat in front of you as it is. And I'm not a big girl, I'm 5'2", so I have no idea what you do when you go on the plane. But I spent my flight to Australia, like from Dublin to Abu Dhabi, which was like 8 hours. The girl in front of me reclined her seat right back.
Oh no.
So it was like, it was literally, the TV screen was nearly touching my chin.
Like you're sitting on your knee, basically.
Yeah. And I put up with it for about 3 hours. And then I tapped her on the shoulder and I just asked her, could she move it forward a little bit? And the look she gave me, you'd have thought I'd asked her to cut her own hand off. And I kind of went to walk down the plane, and it's not just her, like, everybody had their seats reclined, and I get you can't sleep, but I just couldn't have. I reclined my seat a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
After that, I was looking to see, if the person behind me still had enough room.
Yeah.
It's so uncomfortable, a long haul flight as it is, without someone sitting on your knee.
Yeah. No, I struggle. Obviously, I'm a whole foot taller than you.
Yeah.
So, I've recently, whenever I've been traveling, and thankfully I have most of the time when I'm traveling, it's normally like Europe, so it's not too expensive. But I've been happily paying an extra 20, 30, 40 pound for the exit seats.
Yeah.
Because it gives you that wee bit extra, but at the same time, I don't like those seats, because then I've heard this a lot in like comedy and stuff, but then you literally become part of the flight team.
Oh yeah, they come over and they're like, okay, excuse me, sorry. So in an event of emergency, better that you know what seats you need. And this is what I got on one of my flights. I was on an Etihad Airways, and there's a set section of seats that's for families with babies, and they can attach a little Moses basket onto the wall in front that you can put the baby in to sleep.
I thought that was you putting something over the baby's head.
No. so it's your seats, and then there's like loads of room, and then a wall, and the wall is where they attach the little Moses basket to. So because of that, there's all this room. Like, there was enough room for me to get up and walk around the couple with the baby without them having to move to let me out.
Yeah.
And I had that for one of my journeys, and I was like, please let me have this for every other journey I ever have ever again. And the baby was so cute and didn't cry the whole trip. So I was delighted. It was great. So those are the safety things next time you fly.
I will look into that. But most of the time, whenever I tend to get two things with when it comes to flights, and it's it's either a baby crying, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, or, and I don't want this is not sexist in any way, but a hen do.
Yeah.
Hen
Amazing.
do's.
Yeah. I don't think I would want one of those either. And I am a woman. So
You know
yeah.
what? I'm sure you know what they're like. So it's always one of the two. And no, I sleep on a plane. Like I always sleep, even if I'm going half an hour across the water for whatever reason, it puts me to sleep.
Lucky you. Lucky you. The whole flight to Australia, I did not close my eyes the full 18 hours. It was
What?
horrendous.
No, I couldn't. I genuinely, even if well, most of the time when I fall asleep, I don't actually mean to, and then all of a sudden, have you ever fallen asleep on the plane or a bus or a train or anything?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's that wee bit where your head goes forward, and then you just wake up and you're like,
Oh, where
all
am
of
I?
a,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, where am I? And there's just people looking at you because your old body has just jumped.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm very passionate about this thing that drives me insane. If you're listening out there, do not do it. Do not
Yeah.
recline your seat because the person behind you wishes
Doesn't
you
like it.
they wish you dead in that moment.
Yeah.
It's 6 a.m. and they're tired and they just hate you. So don't do it.
Okay, that's number one. What is number two?
Number two, so this is maybe not quite as controversial. I hate people who are flaky. Like,
Okay.
uh, like
Yeah.
whether that be in the work setting, whether that be, my friends, my boyfriend, it drives me mental. A plan is a plan. We've made the plan. I've written it, hand wrote it in my diary. Don't you dare even think about cancelling it unless you're going to rearrange. So I'm okay if someone's like, if you were like, oh, Hannah, let's go for a coffee. Sorry, Hannah, something's come up in work. Can you do Thursday instead? That's no problem. But when someone's just like,
No, I just don't want to do it.
yeah, or like they don't turn up, or you ask them to do something, like say, for example, it's in work and you're like, oh, here, can you stack that shelf for me? And they just don't do it. You're like,
Yeah.
what are you doing here? It just drives me insane. I think because I'm quite an organized, sort of proactive person, it just drives me mental because I expect everybody to be at my standard.
No, I get that. I totally get that. Can you imagine I just didn't turn up tonight?
See, like, no, I'd be for you. Like,
And number two would be things that drive me insane. You.
you, it's you.
But yeah, no, I don't like that either. Well, standing people up. I don't think I've ever been stood up for a date,
I
but
don't think I have either.
I've worse than that. I
Oh,
was about a year or so ago. I was heading, actually, no, I was heading on a date about a year ago, and I was walking down Great Victoria Street, and you know the way there's always like a couple of guys that are homeless on the street along there, and I was really early for the date, so I would normally acknowledge them anyway. And the guy said to me, it was a guy and a girl, and they were sitting there like, can you get us a cup of coffee? And I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll nip into, the Tesco there and says, I'll get you a cup of coffee. And I was like, what do you fancy? Do you want to get you just got a couple of lattes? And like, yeah, no problem, a couple of lattes. Went into Tesco, was in there for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, got 2 lattes, came out, turned the corner, and they'd gone.
what?
Yes, I literally got stood up.
Like two people who asked you for the coffees.
Yes,
How
two people
bizarre.
asked me for the coffee. I came out and I was literally standing there looking around me, looking so lost, even though I knew exactly where I was, and they
Yeah.
had just disappeared. And I don't know why. So I ended up having to walk across Belfast with these 2 coffees, handed one to another homeless person, and then another one to another homeless person.
Yeah,
So
no,
cute.
I've never been stood up, but I've had someone like I've been in the middle of like say doing my makeup. I've showered, dried my hair, doing my makeup, like in the middle of picking out my outfit, and they've texted me being like, "Oh, like something's come up."
Mm,
And I think because I'm such a busy person, I find my time very precious. So if I have made plans with you on a Saturday night and you cancel on me, I'm fuming because I'm like, I could have done something else with that Saturday night, and now you've ruined it, and I'm sitting here on my own like a loser.
Yeah, when you have
Yeah.
so many possibilities.
Yeah, like,
Now you have none.
I could have taken on a shift in work and made
Yeah,
like, 100 quid
whatever.
this evening
Yeah,
facilitating, but you've just,
ruined it.
me up because you've got a rubbish excuse. Yeah, no, I hate it. So that's
Yeah.
number two.
No, flaky people's a good one. I'm totally with you on that one. I like as you say, I like whenever there's a plan is set. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, what's number 3?
Okay, so this one is a shout out to both my brother and my boyfriend because they do this every day of the week. So they drop things on the counter and don't wipe it.
Oh,
So like, you lift your tea bag out and the tea
yeah.
bag drips. They just leave it. Just leave it. Or they spill a wee bit of water, leave it, bit of sugar, leave it. So then it like hardens into the counter. So then when I come a couple of days later to clean, it then is a mission trying to get it off.
You try to scrape it off then rather than wipe it off.
Yeah, and I'm like, why would you see the tea bag drip, put it in the bin, and think, I'm just gonna leave that there? My brother did it. Like, my brother's done it all his life. And then, so my brother's called Ben, but my boyfriend's also called Ben. So then when my boyfriend Ben came along and he started doing it too, I was like, are you two in cahoots? Well, like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I just anybody who just can't sort of clean after themselves.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm quite, I get it from my mom. Like, I have to have a clean kitchen, clean sink. Like, literally the sink has to be spotless. I can't have like if there's like a tiny bit of food or something in the sink, I'm like, oh no, need to clean it. But it's a big thing, and I think it is more men are normally terrible at it. I remember one of my friends texted me, and she might listen to this, so I don't know whether to give her a shout out or not, but she texted me basically saying that her boyfriend got peanut butter on the kitchen tap, and she's like, how did he get peanut butter on the tap? Like, how is that possible?
I just, you just wonder what the thought process is. Like my boyfriend's favorite thing is to get out of the shower and soak the bathroom floor.
Oh,
and then just leave it. No, why are you doing that? No.
I'm guilty of that, and I don't know why.
Like, I'm just like, do you want me to buy a bath mat? But then bath mats are a bit smelly. So I'm like, just put your towel on the floor, step in the towel, dry your feet, get off, dry your body. And no matter how many times I say it. So it's just like tea all over the counter, water all over the bathroom floor, and I'm just ready for the hills.
I think it's because we hold more water, though.
What?
What
are you talking about?
We hold more water. Like, men are like hairier than women, so it's harder for us to dry ourselves. It takes a lot longer.
Have you seen how long my hair is? Like,
no, but not
go on like belly button length wave here. Like, come on.
Yeah, I suppose it's the equivalent of you coming out of the shower and then just flinging your hair about the place, isn't it?
Yeah, whereas I put like a little towel around it to stop any drippage from my hair. Yeah, it just drives me mental because then I have to come behind and clean all of it up, and I'm just like, it's now a 20-minute job, whereas before it was a 20-second job. Bit of kitchen roll, done.
Yeah, no, when it comes to the shower as well, I know it's a bit of a tangent, but I don't think I'm too bad. I've been told, yeah, you do soak the place, but also I'm like I don't know how I was going to describe myself there, but I like towels, like a lot of towels. Like, I will completely cover myself, especially if I go to a hotel. I will use every towel in that place to wrap myself.
But does that not like drive you insane about how many towels you have to wash then?
Not if I'm in a hotel, like, but if I'm at home, maybe. But now, well, we've moved into the new apartment. It's great. Like, it's got like wash machine, tumble dryer, and it's like, yeah, just fire it in, we're good. Yeah. I will put every single towel we own around myself.
Like a baby all cocooned up after a bath, like that's you.
just the eyes, that's all I can say.
So yeah, and I struggled to think of things, and then when they started coming to me, I couldn't stop. So I
Yeah.
actually have a list of about 20 on my phone. That once the ball started rolling, then I say, oh, and that annoys me, and that.
Well,
Ah!
this
And
podcast could maybe be like 1 off 7 or something like so.
everything annoyed me then after
Just everything.
that.
That's pretty good. I just remembered actually that I did the last podcast, and I normally whenever I get someone to pick 3 things, and then I choose one of them. And while I don't know if well, I don't have the power to help in any way or remove these things from your life, I do choose one and be like, yeah, okay, that's one. If we could, we'd get rid of it. So going back, so a bit of a recap. Your first one was people reclining on planes.
Yep.
Very annoying, very annoying. Flaky people, also, I can totally relate to that. And then dropping stuff and not cleaning it up. I think I'm gonna have to put that in because I'm totally. While yes, I soak the bathroom floor, I do keep a very clean kitchen.
Yeah, I think it's the one that affects my life the most.
Yeah.
You know, I maybe on planes 3 times a year, and then flaky people, I just don't associate with them. Whereas the dropping stuff on the counters, that's a daily issue for me.
It's one that gets the eye twitching, does it?
Yeah, every day. Every day.
Okay, well, we will put that in the bin, which is where all the drips should be.
Correct.
So that's
Correct.
that's quite appropriate. Okay, well, I'll not give you for too much longer, but just to wrap it up, you started the business, which has been going for, you say, just over almost a year.
Yes, it'll be a year in August.
Year in August. So if you were, well, maybe you've already talked about this with your life coach, but what are your goals for the future, and where do you see yourself?
Oh my goodness. Like this question, I'm like, I don't know. But I did not, honestly, Johnny, if you'd asked me this time last year, will you be opening your own business? I'd be like, never. Absolutely not. I couldn't have thought of anything worse.
Yeah.
But here I am. But I suppose, yeah, you know, we're starting off with our 2 bases in Ballymena and Coleraine. So I think, you know, in 5 years' time, we would definitely like to have 5 bases in total. We would like to keep running our online course. And yeah, I guess we would just sort of be competing with the other, you know, big theatre companies out there like Tinderbox and, you know, Kibosh and people like that, that we would be that name that everyone has heard of in the North Coast, and that, you know, we would have people trying to subscribe to us and not be able to because we're fully booked in all 5 locations. So yeah, that would be the goal.
Okay, so where, if anyone's listening, obviously we'll share everything to do with the business, but if anyone's listening, what's the easiest way to get you guys online?
Yes, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Every Unique Productions, and then our website is www.everyuniqueproductions.com. And yeah, just any of those, you can get our email address or just send us a message.
Fantastic. Well, as always, how I finish the podcast, we will do the awkward goodbye, and then we'll have a quick chat.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on. Bye.